All right, coaches, welcome to the best of the Central and West. It's been a few months since we've done these calls. I'm excited to be on this call today. We are going to try and pick these up and keep these going and continue to do more and more of these type calls again. This is a unique call in that Amber Kuiper is our speaker, and she's not someone I work with very often. So she works with Joe Carden, has worked with Joe for, I know, more than a year. And, she's got such an incredible story. So this is going to be fun for me to be able to interview her and to kind of talk through this. Now, the format of these calls, if you don't know, is we go about an hour. If we can be shorter than that, we try to. But the objective is to answer any questions that you might have in regards to the business, how to build, what activities she's doing, how she's having success, and really to help answer any of your questions, okay? You guys, as attendees, can type in questions into the comments. I will do my best to kind of moderate this, to keep the flow going. If you don't have questions, I've got a kind of a setup and a flow that I go through, kind of following the vital process and how the business flows. And so I'll kind of go through those questions. If you do ask a question that's about challenge groups and I'm not yet to challenge groups, I will just kind of bring that back as we get closer to that part of the call. Let's kick this off. Amber Kuiper is an 8-star diamond. About a year ago, she was a 2-star diamond. So she's had incredible success in the last year. She's currently ranked number 25 in the network. She's married to Jake, and she is a mom of 4. So she's a busy person and has lots going on in her life, and yet she's been able to build this business. So, Amber, why don't we start this off by having you tell us a little bit about you? How did you do it as a busy mom, and how did you be able to get to where you are today? How does this all kind of tie together?
Yeah, so I started as a coach about 2 years ago, a little over 2 years, and at the time I had 4 kids, 4 and under. And so the thought of taking on something new was a little overwhelming, and it was actually by accident. I was about 6 months postpartum from having my 4th, and I was really struggling. I've always been someone that has been passionate about running, health and fitness in general, but after that 4th, what I was doing was not working, and it ended up where I was on this trip home with my husband from Hawaii, and I had to be in a swimsuit all week, and I hated every minute of it. And I said, I'm never going to let myself feel like that ever again. And so even though my story wasn't a huge weight loss story, I would say for me, it was more just where I was at emotionally. I had struggled with postpartum anxiety, depression. And, on that plane ride home, there I saw one of my friends posting about the 21-day fix on Facebook. And I had seen her post about it, I don't know how many times. I totally thought it was a hoax. But for whatever reason, I think I hit rock bottom, and I think that's where a lot of us started, is that we needed to do something. And so I reached out to her, I got some information, and I told my husband about it. And his response was, come on, we have a gym membership. We really don't need to spend money on something else. You just need to be, a little bit more intentional about getting to the gym, which was fine. But I'm a little bit stubborn and a little bit, I just kind of do my own thing sometimes. And so I purchased it anyway. And I didn't even start with Shakeology. I knew that would be like a total kind of slap in the face for him. So I just started with the 21-day fix. Got amazing results, results that I was not getting at the gym doing my cardio and weights. And then a month later, because I was still so tired during the day, all I wanted to do come nap time was take a nap. I was a stay-at-home mom at the time, and my days were really just super focused. When I think back on it, they were really selfishly focused, and I was so focused on what I wasn't able to give my kids that it really took away from anything that I even had to give them. And so anyway, after I got my results, then I decided, you know what, I want this discount on the Shakeology. I didn't even tell my coach I was signing up. I just signed up and had no intentions of working the business at all. But then once I got into the group, I saw what these other women were doing, and I knew that I myself had had such a transformation. Well, the 3 years prior to becoming a coach, I had been blogging about mom life after I had my twins. So my story is that I had my first, and then 17 months later I had twins, and then 17 months later I had my fourth. And I was so sick of going on social media and feeling like everything was so perfect. So this blog that I created was all about sharing real life, the ups and downs of motherhood. And so when I thought about the platform that I had there, and then this new tool that I had discovered, I was really at a crossroads because I did not want to be in network marketing. It wasn't what I had planned or what I even thought was very cool, but I wanted to help people, and I wanted to help other moms feel like I felt. And so for me, it really was just about that. How can I even just help one person? And that has turned into now, like where I used to think small in terms of, I just want to help one person. Now it's like, oh my gosh, I want to help as many people as I possibly can to change their lives. So really, I would say a couple months later, I was like, I had the worst attitude. I was like, oh, we'll just see how it goes. And this is what I tell my coaches who tell me that in the beginning. I'm like, that's such a bad attitude. Like you cannot start with, oh, we'll see. But that's where I was. And I started with that. And then all of a sudden I saw that there was this huge need. And my challenge groups were starting to get full. And then they wanted to pay it forward. And it was really just this very organic process. Once moms kind of, and I help other women besides moms, but I would say my majority are moms. Once they started realizing that they could take control of their lives, whether they're working or at home, it was just kind of this entire unexpected blessing in our lives. And now my husband, who thought that it was a total joke, is now totally on board, and he's helping me run trainings, and it's crazy what can happen. So that's a little bit about where I'm from, I guess.
So talk about, I mean, I can't even imagine 4 kids under 4. Like that's nuts. So you're starting as a coach. Let's go to the point where you've done 21 Day Fix. You've had your transformation. I appreciate you've got your blog, and so you've got this communication structure, the social media kind of dialed up. But what were the most, as you got started as a coach and you decided I'm going to help people, what were the most important activities you were doing for that first month, 2 months, 6 months? Like, how did you get started with, and what were those activities that you were doing in the very beginning?
Yeah, I think for me, it really has been constantly reminding myself of the vital behaviors, because it's so easy to chase the shiny stuff and the stuff that's more fun. But during that first month, I just continued to focus on my own results, because I was just 21 days in, then 42 days in. And so I still had a ways to go. And I knew that if I really wanted to attract people, that I needed to continue on my own journey. So that was when I kind of looked at my day, because with 4 little ones at home, I could never, like now my youngest is 3 and I can sit at my desk for like 15 minutes. And that feels like such a treat, but back then I couldn't even do that. And so it was really me prioritizing, okay, if I only have in the beginning like an hour or 2 hours a day to work this, I have to make sure that I'm focused on the right things. And so, of course, I treat my workout like it's my job. It's my job to work out. I have to get that in. I have to drink my shake. Those are easy. So I check those off. Not always at the same time of day. I'm not one of those super consistent early morning people or anything, but I won't go to bed until it gets done. Again, just kind of working with the schedule that I had. And then really just consistency, I think, is the other thing. As far as sharing my story, was consistently showing up on social media, consistently showing up just in community. I think a lot of times you look at people with big social media followings and you're like, oh, it's so easy for them. But I, since day one, do everything that I ask my coaches to do. So just because I'm posting on social media, that doesn't mean I'm not reaching out behind the scenes. That doesn't mean I'm not meeting up with moms at a park or, sparking up conversations at the grocery store. Like, I really was just looking for a way to connect, and it wasn't to make a sale. I think that's where we have to get to, is that when we're in conversations, it's not to force this awkward thing about how you want them to buy from you. It's really because you're so passionate about what you're doing, you just can't help but share. And that's really where I was at, it was like my life was so changed. I didn't even have to lead with like, Beachbody or make people feel uncomfortable. I was just sharing my story. And then once I built that trust, then I could bring in the product after that.
Okay. How many times did you go through 21 Day Fix?
Gosh, I did that for about the first year. That's all I did. That's all I did, like over and over. But I would say consistent rounds, probably like 3 months worth of 21 Day Fix, and then, another 6 months of 21 Day Fix Extreme. Like that, the Extreme is still my all-time favorite. But that was still a lot of my people start with 21 Day Fix. It's just near and dear to my heart.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate that. And I do think your point of your own results have to be there. It just makes it easier to be able to tell your story. And quite honestly, as I've gone out and traveled and met with coaches, the coaches that have their own results have the confidence needed to share it with others. I mean, it just really gives you your own confidence to be able to talk to others. Whereas if you don't have your own results, it does make it more difficult. And so I can appreciate that. So talk about you learning the business. Like, were you in a Coach Basics program? Was it trial and error? Was it like, how did you now learn that, well, number one, that there is a business, right? And that there is an opportunity here beyond, I mean, yes, we always help people, but how did you transition from getting your mind to go, oh, wait, this is actually kind of real?
Yeah, so my upline coach was really not working the business in the same capacity that I wanted to. And so there really was no formal training as far as Beachbody goes. It was all just me going online, watching YouTube videos, going in the backline online office. It's funny because I don't even know how I trained. Like I just kept asking questions and I kept finding answers. And and that's really what I try to teach my team to do is it's like if they come to me with a question, my first response is check the FAQ, look it up on Google because that's what I'm going to do. So I think to create that culture of, teaching someone how to fish instead of just doing it for them is really what I'm trying to duplicate, although it's hard when I'm also so passionate about helping them succeed. So it's kind of that balance of, training them in well, equipping everyone, but not dragging anyone along. But in the beginning, it was really just me teaching myself. I mean, there are so many resources out there. I don't care if you don't have an upline. Like there's a way to succeed if you're passionate about building a business. And that's kind of how I looked at it. Now, eventually my upline coach quit and I realized I was part of another upline. And so I got plugged into that one, but still there's not a lot of training there. So, I just had to do it. And I think that I'm honestly thankful. Like I wouldn't trade it for a minute that I had to kind of work at it to learn.
Okay. So then that brings up another point I want to ask you about, because a lot of coaches will do what you're saying, that they'll go into the back office and get into the video library, or they'll go to YouTube and start watching Scotty Hobbs videos and, they get lost in this abyss. How did you not get lost in all of the content? Because you can never get to the end of all the training that's available out there. But like, at what point did you implement what you were learning, and how did you stay in the, phase one of doing the work, not just, watching all these videos? Because I think we do lose a lot of people who get hung up on all the stuff that they can go watch and learn and listen to.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. I think, again, it was just, I really appreciated how at the basic level, how much the 4 vitals at the time, the 3 vitals, whatever, were just like driven home constantly on anything that I was at. And so I knew too that I had to be profitable. Like I couldn't just do this business and it could be a fun hobby. Like if I really wanted to build it, I had to be smart with my time. Now my husband's in sales, so he's good with this too, but he's always helped me to be focused on the right behaviors. But I think, I'm someone where personal development, I probably listen to 3 or 4 hours of personal development a day, just when I'm washing the dishes, when I'm in my car, like whatever. But I think at the end of the day, I know that if I don't take action, nothing is going to change. Like no one is going to build this business for me if I don't reach out to people. And I've had, it's not like I've been perfect at this. I've had ups and downs. Or, oh my gosh, I'm in management mode. Shoot, I spent way too much time with my coaches this month. I need to be recruiting more. So, all those things I think are things you learn along the way. But yeah, you can't just know the right stuff. You have to actually put it into action or it won't help your business.
Okay, so let's talk about, finding attraction marketing. So talk about social media. Facebook, Instagram, blogging, how you do it and how it's building, what platforms you've used.
Yeah, I would say my main one is Facebook, and then Instagram as kind of the secondary one. But for me, a lot of it is just sharing my story without Beachbody, sharing like what I'm up to, but always asking the question, what's in it for them? And so when I'm posting, I'm sharing maybe a story about something my kids did, but then I'm relating it at the end to encourage a mom out there, or to encourage someone who might be going through the same thing. And I'm really honest, and I'll share like when stuff gets really hard in motherhood, or when, just stuff is not going well. And I feel like people appreciate that, and it builds trust. And so for me, Facebook has worked, I think, because the shareable content piece is so huge. If you make a good post and someone relates to that, they'll I've had posts go viral just because people share them because they relate. And so for me, it's all about being relatable, but then also being just super real and encouraging. I don't think enough people are getting encouraged throughout the day. And it's not like encouragement like, oh my gosh, I got my workout done. Awesome. You can do it too. Like that's not good enough. We have to be thinking deeper and really getting into the heads of the people who are following us. But when I think about social media, I'm always kind of thinking about who was I yesterday, to kind of be helping the people that maybe have just been where I was so that I can get them to be, where I'm at now, and kind of help them on their journey. So really Facebook, and then blog posts. I do like having a website that I can update, and it's like no matter what happens to social media, I have a little corner of the internet that's mine. So I do like having that. But really it's just consistency more than anything. Like whatever you do, you have to be consistent. It's like any job. You can't just not show up for 2 weeks and expect that you're going to have a paycheck. Like you have to be consistent.
Okay, so when you say consistent on social media or on Facebook, I don't know why that's doing. Talk about what you post on Facebook, like how many times a day, but what specifically are you covering in a day's post?
Yeah, I mean, in an ideal world, I like to post morning, noon, and night. Does that always happen? No, like life with kids is crazy. But I think the important thing is that I keep going, and that if I haven't gotten as much out there, then the next day I'm going to make sure I'm going to do it better. So kind of failing forward. But then as far as content goes, like really, again, just I think what people want more than anything in terms of figuring out their health journey is like, how am I going to actually fit this into my day? Like, how would I actually make this work for myself? And so I'm thinking through what is in my day, or what are the obstacles that I'm going through in a given day, and helping people realize, like, I didn't want to wake up early to work my business either. It wasn't easy. Or I didn't want to go to the gym today. I didn't want to eat healthy today. I really wanted pizza. But kind of walking them through the thought process of why I choose what I choose, and always reminding people that for me, it's such a deeper thing than just how I look. It's really about how I feel, how I'm going to be for my kids, all that kind of stuff. But I feel like when you can really, tug at those emotional heartstrings, that's what helps people to get to a place where they want to make a change, because they feel it and they know that they need it. But I will say one tip that has helped me big time is not using like you statements. I feel like whenever I share a story, I always lead with I, or I tell it exactly what I went through, because I think the minute that you go, maybe you're feeling like this, maybe you want that, I think that it comes across as you're projecting onto people. And whereas if I share from an I statement perspective, it just lowers the resistance for people, and it allows them into my life without them feeling like I'm trying to get into theirs.
Okay, cool. So let's talk a little bit about the beginning again. Let's talk warm market, and then get into how did you, I can see the transition into cold, and we'll talk about that. But in the beginning, how much of your business was warm market? Did that get you to diamond? How far did you take your warm market before kind of the cold market and social media kicked in?
Yeah, I mean, it's a little different for me because I had social media built up beforehand. But what I try to remind people of is, like, I worked at that for 3 years, before I had a steady social media following. And so for me, when I started, I had a cold market built up, but it's not like it was overnight. I mean, I kind of feel like I was coaching for free for 3 years. I mean, if you look back at my blog, it was like, I would run free fitness challenges and let's see how many miles we can run. And it was kind of funny to look back on how I was already coaching just without getting paid. So I feel like because I did have like 3 years of adding so much value to people, the minute that I was like, hey, I want to help you, they were like, yes, help me please, because I had spent so much time. So my blog, to go back to kind of how I started my blog, because I would say that's kind of when I started branching out of my warm market. It was just starting on my personal page, sharing all my blog posts on there, inviting my friends to my blog, inviting them. Like, I did a lot of giveaways in the beginning, all that kind of stuff. And then eventually, they would share it. And then it's just this very kind of organic thing. But it's funny because like I said, even though I already had a cold market, I was still using my warm market. So I was still reaching out to friends from high school. I was still reaching out to friends from college, but I think that the biggest piece of advice that I can give people who want to branch out is just to add value, like value that actually is going to make a difference in their lives, to where they're not like, oh, I'm just going to follow another Beachbody coach, but they really want to follow you because they know that every day when you post something, it's going to make their life better, whether or not they ever purchase from you. And I tell my coaches that all the time, like, this is obviously, it's a business, but if you want to have a successful business, you have to love the heck out of people. Like, that's what we're about. And so you're going to love that person that said no to you the same amount that you're going to love the person that says yes to you. And eventually a lot of those no's will turn into yeses, but it all starts by you just being a genuine person every single day, no matter who you're in contact with.
Okay, cool. So, and I see Joe's got the question of how long did it take you to get to Diamond from when you got started?
Gosh, I think it was a couple months, maybe 2 or 3 months. I honestly don't remember.
Okay.
It was like Diamond. Like, it's funny. Diamond was never the goal for me. I was like, I'm like, Diamond, fine, but I just want to keep going. So I don't even remember.
Okay. No, that's fair.
I think it was a couple months.
So as far as cold market inviting, and I do appreciate that you had this other blog and you had this you've been adding value and you've been, providing, people with kind of a service. But talk about now, how do you take that from, now you're attracting them into a challenge group, or you're finding them and then you're inviting them to the challenge group. How do we get them from wherever they are on social media into your challenge group? What does that process look like?
Yeah, I have a couple different kind of ways that I do that. So one, I have a Google form and if anyone's like ready to go, it's a Google form that my team does what we call lead generator. So twice a week, on Sunday nights and Thursday nights, we'll post together as a team. And we're just basically sharing. This is the 2 times a week that we're sharing about Beachbody and inviting people or calling them to action. So when I'm posting a lead generator, I'm posting a Google link, and they're filling out, they're going to tell me their goals. They're going to tell me what they want to get out of this, what they're looking for. And then I'm sending back a personalized email to kind of get them set up. But the people that come to me, they're usually ready. And a lot of them, whether they're ready the first month or 6 months later, they just want information. Like, they actually want to know, they want to jump from point A to point B and know how much this thing is going to cost. So that process is pretty easy as far as they fill out the Google form. Go ahead.
So I'm going to cut you off a little bit. They're ready. How did they get ready? When you say people that come to me are ready, I mean, obviously it's your posting that gets them ready. So, but talk about what do you mean they're ready, and how did they get ready?
Yeah, I feel like the response that I usually get from people who reach out to me is like, I've been following you for months. I've been watching your journey for months. And so I think that they're ready because they've been thinking about it for so long, because my posts have been consistent. Okay. So, it takes it takes just sometimes one post for me to say, okay, my July boot camp is open for enrollment. And they're like, okay, this is the time where I'm finally going to do it, or whatever. But what I love about the Google form is that it has everybody in one place. So I have their email, I have their goals, and then I can highlight like what they decided to do if they purchase an all access challenge. Like I just use color coded things to kind of know their status. And so, yeah, some people sign up the first month. Some people will literally fill out that form 3 or 4 times. And then finally the 4th time they purchase. So it's all about timing. But that's kind of the first way, is that they fill out the Google form and I send them information. The second way is my free group. So this is just a free group that it's open all the time. My blog is called Mommy's Me Time. And so it's called Mommy's Me Time Health and Fitness. And so it's open all the time, and I'm basically, again, just adding value. A lot of the stuff that I'm posting in there is even some of the same stuff that I'm posting on my public channels. But the thing is, the way the algorithms work, sometimes people are seeing stuff in a group before they'll see it on my feed. And so just, again, just another place for me to go live, for me to share like updates specific to Beachbody. And I feel like that, because they've made, the step to join that group, and I probably have, I don't know, maybe like 1,200 people in that group. Because they've made that step, it's okay for me to be a little bit more forward with posting some of the images that we get from Beachbody. Whereas I wouldn't do that on my social media feed. In my free group, I can be a little bit more, to the point with some of that stuff as well.
Okay, so let's talk about that group. So the free group is an ongoing, it's always open, and over the course of however long, you've built it to 1,200 people that have said, I want to be a part of your free group.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And then is that so are you taking people from social media, the world, right? And then they're coming into the free group, and then you're transitioning from free group into challenge group, where now they buy the challenge pack and now they move on.
Yes, exactly. And really the free group, has a lot of my paid customers in there too, and even some of my coaches, so they can see, like, it's really for anyone to just want to kind of take a peek at what I'm doing. But I'll tell you the way I built it, and I have actually built it in the last 2 months, is that I did, I offered, because I'm thinking through constantly, what are my biggest pain points as a mom, and why can I not get this healthy lifestyle to feel easy? And so I decided to start doing these weekly meal plans that I would send out via email. So I wanted to build my email list. So anyone who signed up for my email list now gets, a weekly menu that has a menu for all the days, plus a complete grocery list. And that's something I'm just doing completely for free. And then at the end of that, I have a link to my free group. And so I think in the last couple months, I built my email list to like 3,500 people. It was crazy. Like, I hadn't heard from, and that was a lot of my warm market, just Facebook friends. I had to hire someone to help me put in all those email addresses, because people were so excited about free menus. And so that's kind of how I get people to take it a step further, is proving to them, like, there's something in it for you. I'm not just trying to take, but I'm really trying to make your life better.
Okay, so the content in the free group, so you've got a weekly menu, meal plan. What else is going on in there? Like, are you posting like from your general social media, or what are you posting in there that's special? Some stuff from my social media, but then if I do run a free group, for example, Sean Week, I run it in there. So I had, a lot of people on the trial. So if they were on the trial for free, then every day I'm posting about what the workout is for that day, but I would say the majority of success that I have had from my free group is by the free trial. It's just such a no-brainer for people to be able to sign up, get a taste, and then a lot of them will end up converting just from that trial. Because once they're in there, they're like, oh my gosh, how have I not had this in my life? Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to go back a little bit. You said a few minutes ago that 2 times a week you post Beachbody, right? So explain that. What are you posting the rest of the week? And then, so is this, I'm thinking of the book, Jab, 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 Right Hook, right? Where you're putting stuff out and then you're throwing your invites. Talk about that. Well, how do you train it? What do you teach your team to do along the lines of Beachbody 2 times a week?
Yeah. So in the beginning, I think that the story that my coaches are so nervous about is that they don't want to be the friend on social media who is spamming their entire network trying to get a sale. And so the approach that we take is really about like 85-90% of the time, you are just sharing you're adding value. And I feel like the word value is just kind of like we say it so much that we don't really even know what that means sometimes, but really sharing anything that could help someone else. And so 90% of the time, that's what you're doing is you're just trying to share your story. And so we talk a lot about what makes your story unique, what makes your story special, because everyone has a special story, no matter who you are. If you think you have the most boring life, you have a great story. And so kind of helping them to pull out those strengths, those stories within their own lives that they can share about. So that's going on, 85-90% of the time. And then on Sunday and Thursday nights, and it's really cool because the whole team kind of gets together and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm working on my lead generator, can you take a peek at this, make sure my wording's okay or whatever. And then we all like blast it together and we like each other's stuff, so we have that support. And I feel like for new coaches, that's really huge because it's scary to put yourself out there on social media. And so if you know that at a minimum you're going to have more eyes on your post, it really helps. And I know like what people say, the algorithms, oh my gosh, are you only going to see coach stuff? Like I know that maybe that plays a part in, whatever, like maybe we're not getting into the eyes of non-Beachbody sometimes, but I do think that it builds the confidence so much in the beginning that then those coaches want to add more friends. They want to build their network because they were loved on in the beginning to kind of get their stories out there. So yeah, and then the things about the lead generator that I think are super important is that there's a clear call to action. Like I always tell them, start with a story, so a real personal story. I don't want them to take 5 minutes to create their lead generators. I want them to spend a good 35-40 minutes writing, like good writing, a story that's personal to them, really close to their heart, and then sharing an invitation for people to join them. And so a clear call to action, a date that their boot camp or challenge group is going to start, and then exactly the steps that they need to do to jump on board with them. And so that's what we've been doing, and I feel like it's been working pretty well.
So the story, because I've heard this presented a lot of different ways. Is this like, I have a story, I survived cancer, I wrote it, and it's like a 25-page, single-spaced, like I feel like people really have to take their story and break it into pieces, and you know what I mean? Just I feel like sometimes people write these novels that it's meaningful, it's valuable, but it's just too much. Nobody stops and reads that kind of content. How do you teach them what it ought to be and length, and how do you break it into pieces? Like, how are you training that part of it?
Yeah, that's a good question. I feel like it's true. I mean, I think that on Facebook, you can get away with a little bit of a longer post just because people are kind of used to reading longer stuff on Facebook. But on Instagram, it is a little bit trickier. But I think the key is that it's not every post is not super long. Like if it's a long post 2 times a week, I think that's okay. But you also that's why I say like you have to be a solid writer, and that's where one of my strengths is I love to write, and so I can kind of help my coaches with that. But I do think it's important that it's not your entire story, like you said. It has to be a piece of your story that's relatable in the moment. And so to even think through, like, again, to get in kind of the heads of the people that you want to join you, what are they going through right now? Like, what are they experiencing on a Sunday night? What are they experiencing after a holiday? And really kind of to use your story. But when I say share a story, it's not necessarily from when I started Beachbody. It might even be something that happened in that last month that was really significant. But and let me just say this too. I think it has to be fresh, because I've also seen a lot of coaches use the same before and after photos time and time again, and that's just not effective either. And so the same goes with your story. Like if you're not tweaking your story and finding the new things about your story, it's just going to be like white noise on social media.
Okay. All right. Let's transition out. I could talk to you all day about this, but let's let's go into, I've done your free group, and now I bought the challenge pack. I bought the 21-day fix. I'm in the challenge group. How do you run your challenge groups? And how long are they? Do you have ongoing groups? Is this an on and off? Like how does your challenge group work?
Okay, so I start a new challenge group the first Monday of every month, and it runs for 4 weeks. And they have to sign up brand new for every single group. I have tried to do ongoing, and honestly, people just lose the momentum. They flake out. And so the process is that after you purchase, you're going to sign up. You're going to fill out another Google form to confirm that you purchased. And so, and I can share the wording that I use somewhere too. But basically, I send them the information, and I say, okay, after you purchase, if you could just fill out this Google form, and then I'll make sure to get you plugged into the group. And so that's kind of my trigger to go, okay, I should probably make sure their order came through. I should make sure that everything's good to go. And then from there, I add them to a Facebook group. So I've done a bunch. I mean, I think that's the beauty of this business. You just keep trying new things, and you know, you kind of keep failing forward. But what I'm doing now, I went to the tracker exclusively for a while. And for me, it was just, I didn't feel as much of a personal connection in terms of converting customers to coaches, because it wasn't like Facebook where I could just click on their picture and see what their family's doing and see what's going on in life. And so now I do a combination of Facebook and tracker. So Facebook is where the big group is. That's where I'm posting the daily encouragement, doing live videos, really just, you know, being the coach. And then on the back end of things, I have people in the trackers based on the workout program that they've decided to do. So we have a tracker group for people doing 21-day fix. We have a tracker group for 21-day fix extreme. All the programs. Now, obviously, some of the programs are maybe they're together because there's not too many people doing, you know, hammer and chisel and P90X, whatever. So then they might be together. And so they're using the app to simply log their shake and their workout. And then everything else, they're checking in on Facebook. But it does allow those people, some people just want to check a box and be done. They don't really want to like do much more. It allows them to do that. But then it also allows the people that want more community to show up on Facebook. And then once a week on Fridays, we have recognition. And so I make graphics based on the tracker groups. And I share names, how many shakes they've done, how many workouts they've done, and then it's like a big celebration. So that's kind of the way to have, you know, a higher level of accountability within a larger group, but they're seeing their numbers. And so, but then yeah, at the end of the 4 weeks, then they have to sign another Google form to continue on. And anyone who has the All Access Challenge Pack can be with me for that entire year, whether they have Shakeology or not. They can be with me. I mean, I always say I strongly encourage Shakeology because I personally drink it every day. But I understand life happens. Maybe you can't afford it for a month or whatever. They could still roll over to the next group as long as they have the BOD subscription.
So every month you shut down a group, and every month you start a group. So for them to stay ongoing, they have to sign up the next Google Doc, jump into the next group, and go the next 4 weeks.
Yes, and it kind of shows me who's serious, because if you can't even fill out a Google form, like what else are what else are you not going to follow up on? So I feel like it really helps to keep my challenge groups more engaged, because the people that are signing up, they really want to. And sometimes, you know, people will have a busy month, so they're like, I'm not going to do June, but I'll be back for August or July or whatever. So it kind of is just a way to keep my door open for them too.
And I'm assuming you've got a list somewhere of everyone who's been in or who has bought All Access, so that when Shift Shop launches, you're like, hey guys, we're going to start a new one. And so you're expecting a big group that month to drive.
Yes, exactly. And that's why I love Google Forms so much, because I have a new Google form for every month. And so then I can easily go back and look at who has purchased what. And then the same is true for when I'm trying to go and recruit. So like yesterday, you know, and I spent my whole day reaching out to challengers who had been in this last boot camp. So typically like the last week, because we're in the last week right now, I'll reach out and I'll just say, I've loved having you in the group. I've loved encouragement that you've given, and wondering if you've ever considered doing what I do. And then I invite them to coach preview from there. So that spreadsheet, it just, I'm not an organized person, but I force myself to be organized because you just have to, or you won't survive.
Okay. So you brought up a new word, coach preview. What is a coach preview?
So I, again, do a number of different things and just hope that something sticks. But the last thing that I did, and it was actually just last night, my husband and I did it together. And so this time I did it a little differently. And I think it was really well received. So I called this one a VIP coach preview, and it was invite only. So it was a smaller group. In the past, I've opened up a Facebook group, and I'll get hundreds of people in there, and then I don't really know who's serious. And so what I did this time was I personally invited each person, and I had 40 people in there. And it was just last night, so we'll see how it shakes out and if it worked. But I invited them, and it's they have to be added by me personally. I have to know, and they kind of feel special because, they were invited. And then we're just super honest about the opportunity and that it takes hard work, and, that it's something that we do it. My husband is in medical sales, and so he gets to work all day helping patients save legs and stuff from being obese and, not taking care of themselves, not making wise decisions. So he sees the back end. And then I'm kind of on the more preventative side. So he was able to kind of share his story about why this work is so important. And then I was able to share my heart. And so we really just, the format was about 2 days. I posted text in the group. I found that too many videos in a Facebook group just don't go over well. No one watches them. So I did maybe 3 or 4 different text posts, a little bit of information about coaching. And then last night was our big event where we presented to the group of 40. It was probably half an hour, 40 minutes. And we just shared the basics about coaching. We shared what we think it takes to be successful. But I'm kind of just really looking for business builders. And so I'm pretty honest up front about what the work takes. We did the same thing last month, and I've been really impressed. When you kind of cut the crap and you're just listen, this is the most fun job in the entire world, but it does take hard work. I think people are either on board or they're not. And it's kind of easy to tell who you want to work with.
Okay, so 2 questions. One's quick. Lisa's asking, if they don't have bought all access, but they've already bought a program, would you let them in your challenge group?
I would say I take that on a case-by-case basis. It really depends on their story. I mean, I'm not going to say no if they literally have no money and they just want to start. But I find a lot of times for people, that's not really the reason. A lot of times people use that as an excuse. And so it kind of depends on the conversation. I don't have a black and white system really for that.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so we're going to run out of time, but you've got me in a challenge group, and now talk to me about the transition or the invitation into the coach preview. I love what you said about the coach preview, that it's just honest. This is what it is to be a coach. This is the work it takes. I love setting the right expectation, is very valuable. And I work with a lot of top coaches that's a key piece to what they do, is they always set the right expectation of what it takes to be a coach. But talk about really quickly, because we're running out of time, this transition of I'm in your challenge group and now you're inviting me to the other. Are you just inviting the group, or is that done privately? How are you getting me into the coach preview?
I'll make usually at some point a public post about if you want to join our team, whatever. But what I'm doing is I'm also co-leading my group with my newest coaches. So anyone who's joined probably within the last 3 or 4 months is co-leading with me. So sometimes I will just share a blanket statement of, if you want to join our team, reach out to, it's a little deeper than that, but you know what I mean? It's some kind of public post. And then, but other than that, it's behind the scenes. I just feel like people are more receptive if you take the time and intentionally invite them. And I invite everybody, and I didn't always used to do that, but I just found it's not up to me to decide who wants to run with this, because I'm always surprised at who wants it and who doesn't. And so, you get a lot of no's, but then you get some yeses, and it's exciting. So, yeah, I just private message everybody, and I try to personalize those a little bit though, so they really understand that I noticed them in the group.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, and I'll add this, but Micah Folsom is obviously a 2-time 15-star, and I was at one of her retreats, and we went around the room talking to all of her coaches about why they became a coach. And interestingly enough, like 1 in 4 said, I became a coach because Micah told me I'd be a good coach. In those messages where you're giving confidence to these people to say, you really need to come to my coach preview because you need to hear this because you would be a great coach. And it was crazy at her retreat to hear that many people say that was the answer. I became a coach because she told me I'd be a good coach.
I love that.
So let's talk. I'm through your coach preview, or I'm in your coach preview. You've invited me to coach at the end of it. Now I become a coach. What do you do with me? What's my getting started right? What does that look like for your team?
Yeah, so again, this process evolves. I mean, it's probably my first coaches would probably laugh at what I did in the beginning, but these days, the day that they sign up, they get an welcome email that basically just has like all of the basic information as far as, you know, where they can get plugged in for their new coach mentorship group, what their link is if anyone wants to buy from them right away, and then how we can get connected. Like one thing that Jake and I have implemented, Jake's my husband, is like if they want to do a call with both of us, we would love for that to be their, like that's our preference. If we can get both the husband and the wife on the call, it's huge just for them to have that support from the beginning. So we offer that, but sometimes, you know, the husband's whatever, or the wife, whatever, doesn't want their husband on. So then I do a getting started right call with them, but they have to sign up. Like I'm not going to chase anybody down. I'll give them the link. They can sign up if they want. If they don't want it, that's fine. And then after that, they get plugged into the new coach mentorship Facebook group. And that's from our entire downline. And so that's a little bit of a bigger group. And so what I do, if I'm recruiting, let's say, you know, 10, 15 coaches a month, then they're also in the Facebook thread where it's just a messenger thread that I have direct access to my newest coaches. I definitely believe in giving like all my attention to my newer coaches and then the coaches that are doing the 4 vitals and not really dragging anyone else along. And so that's where they can ask their questions. And it's nice because a lot of times they'll ask the question and then everyone else is wondering it. So instead of me getting like 15 messages, everything is in that central location. And that's kind of acts as their cohort. So when they have a question about something else, like it's really cool to see how at first they need me to answer the questions, but then eventually they just become kind of their own little community. And I found that that's really helpful as a team gets bigger for them to sort of have like a little landing place that they can kind of interact.
Okay, you had mentioned new coach mentorship group. What is that?
Yeah, it's real basic. Again, I got a lot of my information from the back office. So literally I like copied and pasted a lot of that stuff into my training. And of course I tweaked it and made the wording my own, but I want this to be duplicatable. And so it's like, it's very simple. It's back to the basics. And so they go through that. It's like 3 weeks of the coach basic stuff. And then a push to Emerald is the last week. So, and then after that, then they can kind of decide if they are going to kind of take this seriously, if they want to do a push to Team Builder / Diamond, or if they want to kind of redo the coach basics or whatever.
Okay, cool. So you got a question about going live, and they're just asking, do you post ahead of time that you're going to go live, or do you just wing it and go live?
For my team or for like public?
We'll just do both. For your team first, and then.
Yeah, for my team, we do one, like on Mondays at 1 is like our team training. I mean, sometimes an additional will go live, like if I have a thought or whatever. But as far as the whole downline, I'll go live at 1 p.m. Monday. On Facebook, honestly, I would love to say that it's more consistent and planned out, but it's not. Like, it's really whenever I have a minute. But I do try to think through when I'm going live if the people who are following me would be able to watch. So usually nap time for stay-at-home moms is a great time, or after the kids are in bed later at night is a good time. But trying to be mindful of that, and then, yeah.
Okay.
No real schedule.
All right, let's jump back to just getting started as a coach in your team, what is the expectation on me as a new coach, and what are my first goals?
So really, I want everyone to hit Success Club in their first month if they're taking this seriously, because it's going to give them a little confidence to go, oh my gosh, I can pay for my Shakeology. And so my first goal for them is to go, you know what, wouldn't it be awesome if you could get your Shakeology paid for? And so we just take it in baby steps. And, you know, I had one coach that started with that, and then she really wanted to pay for groceries for the month. And so then she worked her way up for that. And so to kind of take it in baby steps, but the goal really that first month is to become comfortable. A lot of them on social media, because a lot of people knowing they have they just haven't been using social media, you know, in that way. And so that, and then the 4 vitals. And like, I go back to the basics all the time with people, because it's like people are wanting to know, okay, what else do I need to do? I'm like, no, you just need to do that again. Like, just try that exact. And so that's what I tell them if it's not working. I'm like, well, how many people did you talk to? Okay, it's probably not that you're doing anything wrong. You just probably need to talk to more people. And so just kind of giving them the confidence and confidence really in that first month that they can do this, that they have what it takes, that the littlest things are awesome. Like yesterday I had a new coach reach out, and she was like, I feel like I might have, you know, kind of stepped on some toes, and someone thought that I wanted them to lose weight, and I'm mad that I, you know, maybe offended them. And I was like, you know what though, you did it. I was like, you reached out to her, and I said, a lot of the learning in this business is in the doing, and the fact that you were brave enough to reach out is amazing. And so really trying to, you know, even focus on some of the things that coaches feel like are negatives, to turn them into positives in the beginning to build that confidence.
Dude, I love what you just said. Learning is in the doing. Like that's an Amber Kuiper. Like, put your name in quotes, put it down. Learning is in the doing. Because it is. And it's amazing how, you know, many people, you know, go back to the beginning of this, get stuck in videos and training and not doing anything. And then, you know, your point of I'm always trying new things. I'm not in the rut of doing the same thing over and over again. And I will tell you that a lot of coaches get stuck because they hit Success Club and they sign 2 coaches a month, and their 2 coaches don't do anything in their Success Club. It's just not growing. And so you've got to be evolving. You got to try new things to figure out what works for you. And so, I mean, your whole message on this call is awesome, because it's keep trying new stuff, but you got to be doing it. You can't just be studying and listening and, you know. Anyway,
right.
Awesome call. So let's close with 2 questions. The first one is, talk about events, Super Saturdays, Summit, things like that. How did Summit change your perspective on this and Super Saturdays?
Yeah, so my first year I was a new diamond coach, and I didn't go because my upline just didn't really tell me, you know, that it was a big deal, and I regretted it so much. I mean, I watched people go. I was so mad that I didn't go. And then last year was my first year, and I was totally blown away. I mean, had no idea Beachbody did events with such excellence, that it was such a big deal. I walked in and saw my name on this wall. I think I was like 2-star at the time, and I was like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. And you really just feel like you have found your people. It's like, oh my goodness, it's amazing to feel like you belong, you know? And then so Summit, like I can't wait. I'm so excited. And then my first event with my husband was probably the other big milestone. Was leadership last year, was my husband's first event. And he went into the event going, yeah, I'll probably just like go to the pool. I'm not really going to come to these talks. And I pulled the card of like, come on, babe, like I need you to come with me. I don't want to be by myself. And he came, and he realized that the stuff that they were saying applied to his business, as he does medical sales and real estate. And so it applied to his business as well. And then ever since my husband has been on board, honestly, it has been so amazing. And so for anyone out there whose husband maybe isn't on board, just be patient with them. Like, make it your mission to prove that this does work. And so, I mean, live events, I think they're so important. They're so important. Perfect.
Okay, last thing. To any new coach who watches this call, what is the best advice you could give them as far as building this business?
As far as building what?
as building their business?
Okay. I would say for any new coach is that you have to believe in yourself. And even if you don't really know how you're going to make this thing work or what you're doing, have the belief that you can do it. And no matter what anyone around you says, no matter what your family thinks of you, what your friends think of you, you have to find a way to stay engaged with why you started. And the reason that people are successful in this business, like you have to care about people, but you also have to be willing to just show up and keep doing and keep helping. And if you keep your eyes focused and your mind focused on the right things, anything is possible. But I loved what you said too about personal development is huge, but also you have to do stuff. Because I think that you just hit it right on when it's like you have to actually get out there and do stuff.
Amber Kuiper, learning in the doing. That's your quote. Learning in the doing. It's Star Diamond. Mom of 4, started with 4 kids under 4. Like, that's nuts. But congratulations on what you've accomplished. This is huge. I really appreciate your time on the call today. Can't wait to see you at Summit, and we will talk soon. Thank you so much for doing the call.
Thank you.
All right, we'll see you.
Bye.
Bye.